Hey, what is going on everybody? It is Nolan, or the Optimistic Gamer here, and welcome back to the Optimistic Survival series after about 2 months. It is so good to be back. I know we left off on a little bit of a cliffhanger with our river. Don't worry, we will get back to that in just a moment. But I have had a very busy schedule these past couple months and just haven't had the time to produce high quality content, and I don't want to produce low quality content, so I figured it's best to just take a little break. But we are back now, and as always, it is great to be back. Today though, we are not finishing up the river. We are going to save that for next episode. Instead, we are taking a look at some of the new features that were just released this week in the new spring update 1.21.5. It's not a major update, but it is one that I am actually a big fan of. I know a lot of people have their own opinions about it, but aesthetics are a very large part of our world here, especially here in our valley, as you can see. So I am particularly excited about things like this, falling leaf particles. I think it adds so much life and dynamism to our world, and I'm excited to see some of these leaves begin to pile up around us. That is not the only thing that was added in the update, however. We have all different kinds of new mob variants: cows, chickens, and of course sheep. Well, the sheep are nothing new, and pigs is actually what I meant to say. We do have variations of sheep through different climates, but they are just the standard colors still. But the cows, the chickens, and the pigs, we have new variants depending on the biome temperature, so that is really cool. One of the things I want to first look at, or listen to, I guess, because a lot of new sounds were added in this update. We have some new wolf sounds, so why don't we head into our wolf house and just take a listen to hear what our wolves have to say. I think we actually have to interact with them in some way. I think that is part of the new sounds. This is just the classic sound, but I believe we have 6 new sounds added for the wolves that we will experience as we play. But one of the things I'm actually most excited for in this update is a new lodestone recipe. The lodestone no longer requires a netherite ingot, which is absolutely incredible. Instead, it requires an iron ingot. So this it went from being one of the most valuable items in the game to now being just a standard tool, and we are going to craft a lot of them because we will stock our ender chest with lodestones and compasses. That way we can place them throughout the world, and we have a thunderstorm. We have learned our lesson about thunderstorms, so we are going to go sleep this off before we have any disasters. Of course, we do have lightning rods all over the place, so it shouldn't be a problem anymore, but we are still not going to take any chances. But as I was saying with the lodestone, we are going to stock up our ender chest with those, as well as compasses. That way we can have lodestones placed all around at points of interest, be it a village, a biome, or anything like that. And then we will simply rename the lodestone. Look at that, we already have a lot of chiseled stone bricks. Where did these come from? Were we building something with these? I'm not really sure. Nonetheless, we can go ahead and craft a series of lodestones now. 53, that is plenty for us, and we will just add these in here. We will get those sorted later on, and then we need about a stack of compasses, which I don't know how many we have. We have 29. That is also a good enough start. By the time we use all 29, we will definitely have restocked that. So now we have 53 lodestones, which is a lot better than 0, and a lot better than using 53 netherite ingots to craft all of those. Definitely very nice to have those on hand. Now, our world has undergone a lot of chunk trimming in the recent updates, primarily because all of these little updates keep making minor tweaks to the already existing biomes that we have. So we have done a lot of chunk trimming, and I'm beginning to notice some errors off in the distance with land generation, terrain generation. So I have decided to skip the chunk trimming for this update, and we will instead save it for 1.22 when that comes out later this year. But that means we are going to be traveling a fair distance today. We will be doing that by elytra. Maybe we will even step into the nether and use our ice highway to get very far away from the valley. But there are a few different things we are after. Primarily just visual things, but things that I want to spot. I tell you what, I'm really liking the leaves inside of our storage building. Definitely a very nice touch. But I think the way we will approach this is sort of as a scavenger hunt. Can we delete this? Those have coordinates. I don't want to delete those. I want a fresh... This is from our zoo that we are still working on. I just want a fresh page, so we will use this. What are we after today? Well, we are looking for a fallen tree, some new mob variants. We are after some new plants, including the bushes and the... Well, I guess it's also a bush, but the firefly bush, not fry-fly, firefly bush. I want to find some cactus flowers. Also, while we are out there, camels now spawn naturally in the deserts, so if we could spy a couple of camels, I think that would be fun. Of course, we already have some here, but just so we can see those. In addition to our new plants, we also have wildflowers, which are very similar to our pink petals that we get from the cherry trees. And we actually have a couple more plants. We have the dry bushes, or the dry grass, and we also have leaf piles, which we will keep our eye out for. I do believe these will fall naturally and generate naturally. I will have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. We will end up with leaf piles over time around our valley here. And lastly, we have some new ambient sounds that we will look for in the Badlands and the deserts. Wind and things like that, sand blowing in the wind, all of those sound very interesting. So that is our sort of scavenger hunt for today. Of course, we are going to have to travel a ways away from where we are, so I will meet all of you probably far, far away from here. We will skip the whole nether travel. So we are all the way out at about 1200 and negative 8000. I do believe these chunks in our immediate vicinity have been loaded in, so we are going to fly just a little bit farther and see if we can find some new territory. Again, we are searching for a swamp, a desert, and of course some fallen trees and some leaf piles that I am already a very big fan of. That definitely adds quite a bit to the forest. It helps break up the ground, and I definitely like the look of those. Can we pick these up? Yes, we can. Does it have to be Silk Touch? No, it does not. So we will grab a bunch of these, probably about a stack or two. Again, I'm pretty sure these regenerate on their own, but I just want to have them so that we can start decorating right away. So about a stack and a quarter should do. But now we know that we are in some new terrain here, some new loaded chunks. Is this a bush? Well, I guess that won't do it. The Silk Touch will do it for a bush, and that is how the bush looks. Just a new variant of a plant, similar to grass, but as a single entity rather than all of those individual sprigs. So already we have found a bush. We have found some leaf piles. We are looking for a fallen tree next. I'm sure we will come across that here shortly. And we actually have some wolf variants right here, although I think we have these wolves already. We will leave them alone. And here are the new wildflowers. They sort of look like, I don't know, they're kind of like the pink petals, just yellow and white instead. But it is always nice to have a new variant like this. And of course, these are similar to the pink petals in regards to the fact that we can place up to 4 on a single block, which is really nice to get that variation in the look. And here is a fallen tree right over here. It doesn't have a mushroom growing on it, but again, it does add a lot to the forest, a lot to the look of the land. Here's another one with a mushroom on it that is much more picturesque, I suppose. In fact, why don't we go ahead and get the thumbnail? We will plant all of our new findings around here, maybe some leaf piles. There we go. We will, of course, bring all of these back with us. So we have now found the wildflowers and the fallen tree. We are still keeping our eye out for some of those new mob variants, though. I don't think we are going to find them here because this is an average climate. We want a warm and a cool climate in order to find those new mobs. And here we have a firefly bush. I thought these would only spawn in the swamp, but I suppose I am wrong. Let's have a listen to the sounds. That is just wonderful, and you know that we will be planting these all over the valley so that at nighttime we get those awesome sounds of the fireflies. We are going to bring some of those back. I'm assuming we can bone meal them. If not, we will keep our eyes out for more. We do have a few more right over here. We are just going to take all of them that we come across. I do know that they need a direct path to the sky in order for the sounds to take effect, so we will have to keep that in mind, but I don't think that will be any kind of issue for us. Let's go ahead and fly up here now. So we have found the firefly bush, and now we are looking for some of those new mob variants, which we will find in the warmer climates, like the jungle right over here. Here are some brown sheep, which are native to the warmer climates. White sheep are actually a little bit more rare in these kinds of climates, which I think is really neat. And here we have some chickens, the warm climate chickens. It is so nice to see some fresh mobs, and this is actually somewhat rare, a gray sheep in the warm climate. But there are the new chickens. I think that is all we have here in the jungle, at least out here. Let's fly into the thick of the jungle if we dare and see if we can find a few more mobs. I am not seeing any around here, so I think we will move on from here and see if we can find some cool climate mobs, which this mountain is a good sign for us. Except for the fact that it is still all jungle, although I did spy a parrot right in there, bright baby blue. And look at this, a Badlands biome. That is actually really something. It's almost as if it was meant to be. So we have some new sounds here in the Badlands. Let's see if we can get into position to hear them, and you can see them on the captions right there. We have sandy sounds and windy sounds. So let's find a spot away from mobs. Here are the dry bushes. We will grab a few of these. And we have two variants of these. We have the short dry bush, or dry grass, I guess, and the tall dry grass. So let's fly down here and have a listen to the sounds. Those are definitely a nice addition. It makes it just makes everything come to life a little bit more. Let's also keep an eye out for some cactus flowers if we come across any more cacti. That seem to be the only one in the area, but we will keep our eye out. And I had to check that we were on normal difficulty. There's an armadillo. I had to check that we were on normal difficulty because it does not seem like there are very many mobs around here, and I feel like that is not very typical for the Badlands, really anywhere like this. I'm not complaining about it, just an observation. So now we are getting into a desert with quite a bit more cactus, so hopefully we will find those new cactus flowers. And I spy one right over here growing on top of this cactus. That is very nice. It just has a nice look to it. We will grab that and take it with us, and these should regenerate, so I'm wondering if, as part of our cactus farm, we will get those, although I think they only generate on cactus that are already 2 blocks tall, and then they can spawn naturally. I'll have to double check that as well. There are a few things I'm going to have to fact check after this, but I think that is the case. Nonetheless, let's fly up here and see if we can find any mobs of the warm variant out here in the desert, or some camels. And I do spy a camel right down here. That is so much nicer than only having them spawn in villages. It makes them a lot more accessible, which is very, very nice. And he's just going to plop down under the moonlight and enjoy the ambience of the desert. I don't blame him. So let's take another look at our list. We have found the cactus flowers, the camels, the dry grass. We've even heard those new ambient sounds. So that is everything for the new plants. All that is left is sort of the headlining feature of this update, which is the new mob variants, which we still haven't found. So we will need to keep our eyes out for those, although we do have a few more cactus flowers right down here that I want to grab first. We do have a desert village right over here. I don't know if there's anything worth going through though, so we will move right past that. And this is a very large desert and a very large warm area of the world, so hopefully we come across some cooler biomes here pretty soon. Even the mountains are still savannas and deserts. And that is some very interesting generation. We will hit that. Look at that. That is... I need a moment to process what we have here. This is very interesting. Maybe someday we will come back to this and do something with that. But for now, let's go ahead and screenshot those coordinates as well. Alright, let's step into this desert temple real quick, see if we can find any good loot, and then we will move on to the cooler biomes, and that's a lot of mobs in there. Mostly worried about that creeper that I saw. We'll just kind of open this up from the roof. There's the creeper. Let's see if we can draw it out. Let's see if we can get a music disc, actually. Nope, never mind. Alright, that should be all of the mobs, so we can make our way down to the loot area and see what we have. We have a Breach 1 book. We will bring that with us. We have some smithing templates, a normal golden apple, and a saddle in here. We will always take a saddle with us, and the horse armor since we cannot craft that. Nothing super valuable to us. That's okay. That is not the point of today's mission. Now I'm trying to figure out what we have happening right here. This is very interesting. This isn't an archaeological site, is it? I don't see any suspicious sand. What is this? Is this part of a village? I know there's a village right up here. That must be part of the village. It has to be. Let's remove some of this sandstone and see if there's anything underneath. I think it is just a part of the village that had an issue generating. That seems to be the case. Very interesting though, nonetheless. I always love going out and exploring the overworld though, because of stuff like that and the incredible generation that we saw with that windswept savanna, I think is the name of that biome. It is just very fascinating to see how the world comes together. We do have a ruined portal over here as part of the update. Lodestones can now generate in ruined portals, so let's see if we get one, and sure enough we do. How's that for luck? So we are just touching all facets of the new update, except for, again, those new mob variants. I can't believe we have struggled this much to find all of them. My guess is they won't generate in the chunks that we had loaded before the update. I suppose it couldn't hurt to go try, We do have a desert well right down there. It couldn't hurt to try, but I would rather just discover them in a new environment instead. Now we have a mangrove forest, a mangrove swamp right over here. This is considered a warm biome, so we might actually have some luck in here. Or maybe not, although that is actually pretty cool. It almost looks like ash from a volcanic eruption. We are finding all kinds of unique sites today. We've basically found everything except for what we are looking for. And if nothing else, it's nice to know that we have possibly the largest desert in the history of the game just to our... are we to the north? Yeah, just to our north. And here we have a blacksmith. We won't pass this up. Although, just a saddle from that. I was hoping for maybe something a little bluer than that, but we will take it. And here is a very nicely generated desert temple. Perhaps this will yield some more favorable loot. Well, a couple more saddles and a couple more smithing templates, but nothing beyond that. And a third desert temple. This desert does not end. And just 2 more smithing templates, although I guess at the end of the day, finding a smithing template is sort of like finding a diamond. We do have a minecart chest right here. We won't pass that up, although the loot inside is passable. Except for this one, we finally found what we've been looking for, a couple of diamonds from that. So now we can return prosperous. And this is actually a very large network. It could be a couple of abandoned mine shafts, although I'm guessing it is just one. I'm not 100% sure though. Now we are in a savanna. We should hopefully find some of those barnyard animals around here, maybe even in the village. And are those the new cows? Yes, these are the new warm biome cow variants. I love the horns on them. Definitely a very nice touch. I'm wondering if, and I probably should have researched this before recording this episode, if the mobs are similar to frogs in that you can take them to other biomes and the frog spawn is that new variant, or if simply breeding the type of variant will yield that same type. Here's the new pig, almost like a golden pig. So we have seen the warm chickens, pigs, and cows. We are just looking for the cool variants now. But I'm wondering about that because if that isn't the case, then we could bring back all of the different variants and just have them available to breed. Of course, at the same time, we are very close to all 3 of those climate temperatures, so I don't think it would be a huge problem for us. It would just be a little bit more convenient. And now we are finally getting into some of the cooler climate biomes. It took us a little while, but we have made it, and we have some black sheep right here. The black sheep are native to the cold climates, the white to the moderate climates, and the brown to the warm climates, and then the gray sheep and pink sheep can still spawn in all biomes, but they are less common. Although this is not a very large biome here, and we're not really finding any other mobs aside from the sheep, which really doesn't help our case. Here we go, that's what we are after. So we have a few more black sheep right up here, and we have a pig, the cool climate pig right here, which is sort of beige. Hey, don't do that. My apologies, that must have hurt. So we have a sort of beige with these white spots. That is our cool climate pig. We are still looking for the chickens and for the cows. Here is the cow right here, and we just need the chicken. How hard could that possibly be? I'm realizing maybe we should look at the cow a little bit more. We just kind of breezed past him. So again, we have those horns going towards the front, and a orangish hue to him. Again, variation. it makes the world come alive. So I'm hoping we can find some chicken somewhere in this spruce forest. If not, we will probably just take some chicken eggs up to the top of the mountain back home and see if that will do the trick. But I'm pretty sure the cold variant chickens are black. And we don't have a chicken, but we do have an archaeological dig site. I saw that terracotta just sticking out of the ground. We will mark the coordinates for that, and I will come back at a later time and work on excavating that. There's not really anything of value to us that we get out of, I think that's a shipwreck, it sure is. We're not going to worry about that. But there's not really anything of value we get out of those archaeological digs now, but they are definitely a fun task to do. And of course we do actually occasionally get an armor trim or two. So we have just about made it home. We can see that the mob variants are just the classic ones from before the update. But again, I'm wondering, the chicken eggs, I don't know why it wouldn't work, but with the other mobs, I'm wondering how we can breed them if we can just take our normal cows to the top of the mountain or into the jungle or something like that. I think we will give that a try. In fact, we might have some up here, but it doesn't appear like it. We will find some cows in the area and give that a shot. So I think we are going to have to expand our current setup for all of the new plants, because we do have quite a few. For now, we will put them in the miscellaneous bin and worry about those later. Again, the last thing that I want to try is just taking some of our chicken eggs up to the top of the mountain and see if we can get that cool variant of the chicken. So we're just going to start throwing these at the ground, and we just got a normal white chicken. But I think we will spawn in a few, and hopefully they stay up here. I don't know why they wouldn't. And then we can come back here later on, and that should be more than enough. That actually probably was too many, but we can come back up here later on and try breeding them and see if they then produce that black variant. But for now, that is where we are going to end this. Actually, no, one final thing I want to do, and that involves our firefly bushes. We are going to get these placed down, open to the sun, or to the sky, because that is how we get these sounds. And this is open right there. And we should hear them come to life when the sun sets. I'm not sure how many we need, so we are just going to place more than enough. So now we will wait for the sun to go down. While we do, let's see if we can bone meal these. It doesn't look like we can. I wonder if maybe we can shear them. And if not, we did find plenty off in the distance, so we can go harvest more, but I don't know if there is actually a way. Oh yes, okay, they just needed some space next to them. So yeah, we can get multiple of those, which is fantastic. And these do not need any kind of silk touch or anything like that. So we have plenty of those now. Again, we're just going to wait for the sun to go down, listen to the ambience, and probably call it an episode there. And this isn't even about the particles, this is more about having the sounds. We'll place a few around the pond, that definitely makes sense. And while we wait for the sun to go down, we might as well place a few more of our new flowers. I wonder with the cactus flowers if we can just place them on the ground, and sure enough we can. Can we put them on leaves? No, we can't. I think that would have looked really nice, but that's okay. And of course we have the bushes as well, which I actually really like these. I think they might be among my favorite, just because they are a slight variation from the grass. In fact, I wonder what we get now from bone mealing the grass in a plains biome. Let's go ahead and we'll go right over here. I think this is a good spot to try it out. So we just have grass and some poppies, dandelions, cornflowers. It doesn't look like we get any bushes. However, we should just be able to place down those bushes and bone meal them. And similar to the firefly bush, it looks like we get one each time. So that is very nice. Can we do that? Oh, I forgot. We have to use silk touch for those. So that was a waste of bone meal, but that's okay. Can we do that with the cactus flowers? It doesn't look like we can. I wonder though if we can bone meal cactus directly. Let's fly over to our cactus farm and see if that will work. It doesn't look like it does, and maybe that's just because there is a gate next to it, but I'm pretty sure, 90% certain, that I read the flowers will generate on cacti that are 2 blocks in height, so we can plant a few of them around and make a separate farm for the cactus flowers if we wanted to, but I think for now we are fine without. And hopefully soon enough we will get those built-in shaders in the vanilla version of the game. Of course, we are keeping the game, or this survival series, vanilla, but if they do release shaders for vanilla, if and when they do, because I know it is in the works, we will definitely be turning those on. I'm excited to see how this world looks. Of course, I have seen it before with shaders, but in the vanilla game, I think that would be really awesome. So the sun is finally setting, and we have all of our firefly bushes planted throughout our main area of town. So once it gets all the way down, we will travel through. The sounds are turned all the way up. I will actually boost them a little bit. I will stop talking, and we will just enjoy the ambience of our new world. In fact, we might as well go ahead and sign off right here, and then we will do the walkthrough after this. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, definitely hit that thumbs up button and make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on content as soon as I publish it. Check the description for some more important information, links, how to contact me, all of that good stuff. And with all of that being said, comment, like, subscribe, remember to stay optimistic, and I will see all of you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Bye!